I used to hate the morning rush hour more than anything. My body was barely awake, but it was already being pushed into a crowded train. Then came the long standing, the crowding, the waiting. The workday hadn't even started, and I already felt drained. Every weekday morning, people repeat this routine, tired and silent, but no one dares to stop. After more than 700 days away from office life, I realized something. There is something scarier than the morning subway. Once you stop and try to get back in, you may find that you can't anymore. I'm Eric. A few months ago, I was still living alone in Shanghai. After the big tech layoffs, a failed startup, and debt, I moved myself into a city where nobody knew me because familiar places were full of my old self, my old work, my old relationships, the life that once looked pretty decent. I wanted to go somewhere nobody knew me and start again. Back then, I was trying to make money again. I was looking for work and trying to build something with AI. But progress was slow. Everything was harder than I expected. Experience had become an expensive cost, and age felt like a fading advantage. Every morning, I woke up alone in that room. My phone was silent, like it had been cut off. Before the spring festival, I got sick. I stayed alone in my room for days. I even thought about death. Starting over in middle age is really hard. It felt like the world had left me behind. Then, almost by chance, a job opportunity appeared. So I moved from Shanghai to Shenzhen without hesitating. From the interview to my first day, it took about 2 weeks. And now I'm on my way to work. The place I live is very close to the first station. The good thing is, the rent is relatively lower. And when I get on the subway, it isn't too crowded yet. I can often get a seat. The downside is, my one-way commute takes about an hour and a half. In other words, I spend 3 hours a day on the subway. People often say Shenzhen is China's best city for making money. But for most ordinary people, there is no miracle of getting rich here. Every day is still rent, bills, commuting, and overtime. As the train moved farther from the first station, more and more people got on. This was the morning rush hour I remembered. The carriage was quiet, but it didn't feel peaceful. Everyone was so close to each other, so close there was almost no personal space, and yet everyone felt far away. People kept their heads down, looking at their phones, earphones in, no talking. Almost no one looked at anyone else. This may be one of the most common morning scenes in big cities everywhere. A group of people packed into the same carriage, heading to different companies, facing different meetings and different bosses. But the tiredness on their faces looked almost the same. Sometimes modern cities feel strange. They put people closer and closer together, but somehow relationships feel farther and farther apart. People are getting used to carrying pressure alone. On the subway, it feels that way. In the workplace, it feels that way too. And in life, it still feels that way. So many people just look down at their phones. Not because the phone is really that interesting, but for those few minutes, you don't have to face anyone else. You don't even have to face yourself. Sometimes that's how it is. Your body is already on the road, but you're not ready to face the day yet. But the city won't wait until you're ready. The doors open. People get on and off. The doors close. The train keeps moving. And just like that, the day begins. After about an hour, I transferred to a second subway line. This is my commute every day. 3 hours round trip given to the subway. Then the rest of the day given to the company. Only the night is left for myself. This is the subway route I take every day. It basically cuts across Shenzhen, from west to east. For many office workers in China, morning coffee isn't really about enjoyment. It's more like the power button before work. You're not fully awake yet, but work has already started. That's why coffee shops near office buildings are always packed in the morning. If I ordered after getting there, I might have to wait in line for a long time, so I ordered the most basic coffee on the subway in advance, about $1.50. That way, after leaving the station, I could pick it up directly. After more than 700 days away from office life, I needed this coffee to help me shift back into work mode, to help me fit into this rhythm again. I got out of the subway around 9 a.m. A division of Tencent, one of China's biggest internet companies, is right next to the subway exit, but I don't work for Tencent. My company is a much smaller internet company, right next door. We are in the same business park. 2 years ago, I was also working at a top internet company, just like this. During the time when I had no job, I had almost lost the habit of eating breakfast. Most days, I slept very late, so I woke up late too. After waking up, I would scroll on my phone, and soon it was already noon. I couldn't really tell when a day started or when it ended. But once I went back to work, time became specific again, cut into smaller pieces. What time to leave? What time to start work? What time to get off? So this morning, I bought 2 steamed buns for breakfast. If I didn't eat, I probably wouldn't make it to lunch. 2 buns cost less than $1. After buying breakfast, I went to pick up the coffee I ordered on the subway. When I got it, I realized it wasn't the coffee I meant to order. Maybe because I was filming. While ordering on my phone, I didn't look carefully. It was an Americano. And the coffee I dislike most is Americano. I don't really like that bitter taste. At this age, life is already bitter enough, so I still prefer something sweet. I asked the barista to add some syrup, even though I knew it wasn't healthy. But what can I say? These days I rely more and more on sweet things. Milk tea, sweet coffee, soft drinks. They are cheap ways to comfort myself a little. Sometimes people are just like that. You really do need a little sugar to feel less awful. When the elevator doors opened, it was already full inside. The morning rush hour doesn't only happen on the subway, it also happens in the office elevator. Everyone was rushing to their floor, rushing to clock in, rushing to start the workday. My office was on the 9th floor. To avoid being late, I had to take the stairs. Maybe I hadn't exercised in a long time. At first, it didn't feel like much. But after a few floors, I was clearly out of breath. Over the past few years, my body seems to have gotten much worse. Staying up late, sitting too much, stress, sweet drinks, no exercise. Most of the time, those things don't seem like much. But when you're climbing stairs, your body tells you the truth. It says, I'm not playing along anymore. I finally made it to the 9th floor. Just as I was about to open the door, someone pushed it open from the other side. The door hit the coffee in my hand, and it spilled all over me. There was no shot of the moment, only the sound of coffee splashing out. Life isn't staged. Most of the time, it happens before you're ready, like me in that moment, covered in coffee stains, completely awkward.